Life doesn't stop when you feel broken. The world doesn't pause when you're tired. Excuses don't earn respect. No one is impressed by explanations of why something couldn't be done, because deep down, everyone knows that the world rewards results, not reasons. You can have 1,000 excuses for why you're not where you want to be, but not one of them will change the fact that progress doesn't wait for comfort. Excuses feel safe. They make you feel justified, like the failure isn't really your fault. But every time you lean on one, you give up a piece of your potential. You trade growth for approval and self-respect for sympathy. And the truth is, the people you're trying to convince don't actually care. They have their own battles, their own struggles, their own reasons to give up. But they keep moving, and so should you. Excuses sound reasonable in your head. They tell you that the timing isn't right, that you're not ready yet, that you've been through too much. They give you temporary comfort while stealing permanent progress. Every moment you waste explaining why you didn't do it is a moment you could have used to try again. Excuses are invisible anchors. They keep you tied to the same place, making it feel like you're moving when you're not. You tell yourself you'll start when things calm down, when life gets easier, when motivation returns. But life never slows down for the uncommitted. The hard truth is, if you want respect, if you want growth, if you want change, you can't make excuses and progress at the same time. One kills the other. Respect isn't earned through words, it's earned through effort. People don't admire the ones who almost did it. They admire the ones who did it despite every reason not to. You gain respect by standing up when it's easier to sit down, by showing up when no one expects you to, by delivering when most would have quit. Every time you replace an excuse with an action, you build credibility with yourself. And that self-respect is worth more than any validation from others. The moment you stop explaining and start executing, people stop doubting you. They stop asking what happened. They just see results. Excuses are a habit, and like any habit, they can be broken. The first step is honesty, the brutal kind. You have to admit that your reasons aren't barriers, they're choices. You chose comfort over discipline. You chose fear over courage. You chose later over now. When you own that truth, you take back your power. Because once you admit that it's your decision, you realize it's also in your control to change it. Life doesn't reward those who talk about what they could have done. It rewards those who did it anyway. No one remembers the explanations. They remember the outcomes. The athletes who pushed through injury, the entrepreneurs who built from nothing, the dreamers who faced rejection 1,000 times. They all had reasons to stop, but they didn't use them. They worked harder, longer, smarter. That's what makes their story powerful. Their respect was earned through consistency, not comfort. When you drop the excuses, you free yourself. You stop defending your limits and start expanding them. You stop caring about what others think and start proving what you're capable of. Every excuse you silence becomes a promise you keep to yourself. And when you live like that, focused, relentless, disciplined, you no longer chase respect, you command it. Pain doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need to be seen, understood, or validated to have meaning. In fact, some of the deepest growth you'll ever experience happens in silence, when no one's watching, no one's cheering, and no one even knows what you're going through. Pain is not a performance, it's a process. It's not meant to be displayed for sympathy, it's meant to be endured for strength. The world doesn't always see what's breaking inside you, and that's okay. You don't owe your suffering an audience. You owe it effort, patience, and resilience. Because what's built in private becomes the strength that shines in public. There's a quiet power in learning to hurt without needing to be seen. When you stop broadcasting your pain to earn attention, you take ownership of it. You no longer need others to understand in order to keep going. You stop waiting for compassion and start focusing on transformation. Every sleepless night, every silent tear, every lonely moment of self-doubt. Those are the moments that build your backbone. That's where you become someone different. That's where you learn that pain, by itself, doesn't destroy you, it shapes you. It chisels away your weakness, your fear, your hesitation. until all that's left is the version of you that refuses to quit. You don't need to prove how much you're hurting to anyone. Pain isn't a competition. No one wins by being the most broken. The truth is, everyone is carrying something. Some are just quieter about it. The strongest people you'll ever meet are often the ones who never talk about how hard it's been. They just keep showing up. They let their actions speak. They let their persistence tell the story. They've learned that pain loses its power when you stop giving it attention and start giving it purpose. When you stop talking about what went wrong and start focusing on what you can do next, pain becomes progress. The world might never know how hard it was for you to keep going. They might never understand what it took to get out of bed, to stay focused, to keep believing. And that's fine, because you're not doing it for applause. You're doing it to become unbreakable. Growth is never loud. Healing doesn't announce itself. It's quiet. It's slow. It's made of small, consistent choices to fight another day. Pain doesn't need witnesses to be valid. It only needs your decision to use it. When you stop needing an audience for your suffering, you become free. You stop living for sympathy and start living for strength. The need for validation fades because your purpose gets louder. You realize that your pain was never punishment. It was preparation. Every setback, every loss, every disappointment was sculpting a version of you that could handle more, endure more, achieve more. The same pain that tried to break you is actually teaching you how to rebuild yourself stronger. There's nothing weak about struggling in silence. There's nothing wrong with fighting battles no one else can see. Sometimes silence is your greatest armor. It protects your focus. It keeps your energy sacred. And it allows you to grow without distraction. You don't need people to see your pain to make it real. The proof is in who you become because of it. Pain doesn't need an audience because true strength never requires validation. It reveals itself when the lights are off and the world has stopped watching. Let results speak louder than complaints. The world doesn't listen to words of frustration. It pays attention to the ones who act despite the struggle. You can talk endlessly about how unfair life is, how many obstacles stand in your way, or how difficult the road has been. But at the end of the day, no one remembers the complaints. They remember the outcome. They remember the victory, the achievement, the breakthrough. Complaining might feel good in the moment, but it changes nothing. Results, however, change everything. They silence doubt, they command respect, and they tell a story that words never could. Every second spent complaining is a second stolen from progress. Every excuse, every rant, every bitter word is just a way of giving energy to what's holding you back instead of to what could move you forward. Complaining doesn't fix problems. It feeds them. It keeps you trapped in a mindset where you focus on what's wrong instead of what's possible. The world's tough. The people who rise aren't the ones who whine about how hard it is. They're the ones who do the work regardless. They understand that while everyone else is talking about the grind, they could be living it. They don't waste breath on pity. They use it to push. The truth is, results make noise that no argument can silence. You don't need to convince people of how hard you've worked when your results speak for themselves. You don't need to explain your vision, your struggle, or your pain when your success becomes proof. Results are louder than opinions, louder than judgment, louder than criticism. They're undeniable. That's why the people who truly win spend less explaining and more time executing. They know that silence during the struggle will one day become the sound of victory. When you complain, you give away your power. You tell the world that your circumstances control you, but when you produce results, you reclaim it. You take ownership. You prove that no excuse is stronger than your will to win. The discipline it takes to work through difficulty says more about your character than any explanation ever could. Complaints are cheap. Effort is priceless. You can't fake results. You can't talk your way into success. You have to earn it through consistency, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of improvement. Think about the people who inspire you most. They didn't get there by talking about how unfair life was. They got there by channeling that pain, that frustration, into focus. Every setback became fuel. Every challenge became motivation. They let their results tell the story, and that's why the world listens. The more you focus on proving yourself through what you accomplish, the less you'll feel the need to justify anything. Success doesn't need a defense. It is the defense. There will always be things to complain about. Life will never be perfectly fair, and the path will never be perfectly smooth. But while others waste time talking about what's wrong, you can choose to do something about it. You can turn frustration into fuel and pain into progress. You can let your actions speak the language of winners, the language of results. When you commit to that mindset, you rise above the noise. You stop arguing for your limitations and start building your legacy. At the end of the day, no one remembers who complained the loudest. They remember who delivered. Results have a voice of their own, and they echo longer than any words ever could. When your results speak, the world listens. So stop explaining, stop defending, stop waiting for others to understand. Let your work talk. Let your success be the proof. Let your results speak louder than your complaints. Discipline outlasts motivation because motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable, and the next day you can't find the will to even start. Motivation is built on emotion, and emotions are unreliable. Discipline, on the other hand, is solid. It doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, uninspired, or uncomfortable. Discipline shows up regardless. It's the quiet force that gets you out of bed when comfort tries to pull you back under the covers. It's the voice that says, do it anyway, when everything inside you wants to stop. The truth is, the people who achieve greatness don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline because they understand that consistency beats intensity every single time. When you're motivated, everything feels easy. The path looks clear, the dream feels alive, and the grind feels exciting. But motivation fades. It's not meant to last forever. And when it disappears, most people stop too. That's why so many dreams die in the middle, because people depend on a feeling to keep them moving instead of a standard. Discipline doesn't need inspiration. It needs commitment. It's the daily decision to act, even when the excitement is gone. It's doing what needs to be done, not what feels good in the moment. Because discipline doesn't chase moods. It builds habits. And habits create results that motivation alone never could. The difference between winners and everyone else isn't that they're always motivated. It's that they work even when they're not. They don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect mindset. They understand that action creates emotion, not the other way around. The days you least feel like working are often the most important, because those are the days that build mental toughness. Those are the days that separate the committed from the comfortable. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're proving to yourself that you're in control. Not your emotions, not your excuses, not your comfort zone. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's repetitive. It's waking up early when no one else does. It's saying no to temptation when it would be easier to give in. It's doing the same thing day after day, even when it feels like nothing is changing. But those small, invisible acts are what lead to visible success. Discipline is what turns consistency into greatness. It's what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. You won't always see progress immediately, but that's where most people fail. They give up before the work pays off. Discipline keeps you steady in the silence, patient in the process, and focused on the bigger picture. Motivation gives you a spark, but discipline builds the fire. When life gets heavy, when setbacks come, when you lose faith in yourself, discipline is what keeps you moving forward. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. The people who master their craft aren't always the most passionate. They're the most disciplined. They show up every single day, no matter how they feel, and that's what makes the difference. Because the truth is, motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a choice. And every choice you make compounds over time, shaping who you become. In the end, discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It's what turns intention into execution and effort into excellence. Motivation will start your journey, but only discipline will finish it. It's the reason some people achieve everything they aim for while others give up halfway. Discipline is what endures long after the motivation fades, long after the applause stops, long after the excitement is gone. It's not about how driven you are when you feel inspired. It's about how consistent you are when you don't. Discipline is what carries you through the moments when motivation disappears, and that's why it always outlasts it. Earn your respect in silence. The loudest people in the room are rarely the ones doing the real work. Talking about what you're going to do doesn't make it happen. Explaining your plans, your dreams, or your goals doesn't make them real. The truth is, respect isn't earned by speaking. It's earned by showing. You don't need to broadcast your effort to the world for it to matter. You don't need to prove your worth through words when your results can speak louder. Silence is not weakness, it's power. It's the space where focus lives, where work happens, and where greatness is built away from distraction. In silence, there's no applause, no validation, no instant gratification. It's just you and the grind. It's the lonely hours, the unseen sacrifices, the repetitions no one notices. That's where character is built. That's where discipline grows roots. Too many people waste their energy talking about what they're going to achieve instead of putting that energy into achieving it. They announce every move, every goal, and every step. And in the noise, they lose momentum. But those who truly want it, those who are serious about growth, know that progress doesn't require an audience. It requires consistency. It requires humility. It requires an unshakable commitment to the work when no one's watching. Respect earned in silence lasts longer than attention earned through noise. When you work quietly, you protect your energy. You avoid the distractions of opinions, doubts, and expectations. You stop trying to prove something to everyone else and start proving something to yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your grind. You don't need their approval or their applause. What you need is to stay locked in, focused on what matters, not on who's watching. The world doesn't reward talkers, it rewards doers. And when your results finally show, they'll speak for you in ways that words never could. Silence also teaches patience. It reminds you that growth takes time and that progress isn't always visible. When you stay silent about your journey, you learn to trust the process instead of rushing it. You understand that respect isn't given at the beginning. It's earned through endurance. The ones who last, the ones who rise, are those who learn to work quietly while everyone else is busy showing off. You don't need to shout about your potential. Your persistence will make it undeniable. When you earn respect in silence, your success becomes unarguable. It's real. It's solid. It's built from effort, not ego. People won't remember what you said you would do. They'll remember what you did. They'll see the results, the transformation, the consistency, and they'll know. The same people who doubted you have no choice but to respect you. And that's the most powerful kind of respect, the kind that comes from proof, not promises. Working in silence isn't about hiding. It's about building without distraction. It's about staying humble enough to learn, focused enough to grow, and disciplined enough to deliver. Every hour you spend working quietly adds to your credibility. Every goal achieved in silence becomes a testament to your strength. Because real power doesn't need to be announced. It's recognized. The respect you earn in silence carries more weight because it's rooted in action, not attention. So stop trying to impress the world and start building something that speaks for itself. When the results come, when success arrives, you won't have to say a word. The world will speak your name for you.